Namaste, everyone. I warmly welcome you to today's panel discussion at Mahanavratri Festival on behalf of Team Unalome. I'm Hina. I will be your host for today. And now I would like to invite Rachika, who will be the moderator for today. Please welcome Rachika.
Thank you so much, Hina. You put us off to such a great start for today's discussion. Welcome to all of you lovely people here, and thank you for taking the time out to be a part of this really important conversation. So, why are we here today? Well, the year 2020 gave us a lot to think about, and the people behind Mahanavratri Festival have taken it upon us to take this conversation forward and learn how we can be part of the change. The Heal the Mind discussion sets the tone for the different interactive workshops, learning sessions, and meditative experiences that we have part of this festival. Today's topic, one that is close to all of our hearts, is about the rising mental illness crisis that we are experiencing as we speak. While reading about this crisis, I came across some really disturbing statistics and anecdotes. According to a 2020 WHO report, 7.5% of Indians suffer from some kind of mental disorder, and they also predicted that by the end of 2020, this number would increase 3 times. The report also estimates that India has just about 0.3 psychiatrists for 1 million people and about 0.07 psychologists for the same amount of people. Some anecdotes that I came across. There was a psychologist who, upon reflecting on the number of inquiries she gets in a week, said that before 2020 of April, she got no more than 2 to 3 inquiries. In April 2020, this went up to 5 a week. And this year, she said it went up to 30 in a whole week. There were also psychologists who found themselves mentally bargaining before going to bed, asking themselves, do I really not have the time for one more client than tomorrow? So if that's the case, we're definitely experiencing some kind of trauma, some kind of strain, some kind of load on the mental, some kind of load which the mental health industry is not able to take care of on its own. So this collective trauma that is such as art, music, theater, spirituality can provide a complementary approach to well-being and therefore release some of this load. And that's why we're here today, to enter this whole new world of healing that contributes to not just your own well-being, but to that of other people around you, your loved ones. All in an effort to emerge stronger in 2022. With that, let's now meet the illustrious set of panelists who will enlighten us this evening. Our first panelist is a transformation coach, Reiki Grandmaster, and a passionate speaker. Having over 25,000 students around the world, she specializes in conducting self-empowering workshops and seminars. Her mission is to provide a safe and supportive space to create harmony between the mind, body, and spirit. Please join me in welcoming Reya Dharma or Rashmi to some. For anyone who's curious, Reiki is a form of Japanese alternative medicine called energy healing or touch healing. Next up, we have a leading holistic sports psychologist who has worked with several international medalists. She was the first woman sports psychologist at IPL 2020. Get ready to meet Dr. Chaitanya Sridhar. An interesting fact about Chaitanya is that she's also passionately involved with the rehabilitation of captive elephants. Can't wait to know more about that in the session. Psychologist and quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, our next panelist has over 13 years of experience in the mental health field. An MPhil in psychology, she specializes in cognitive behavioral therapy and runs a private practice at Satchetna. She is also a school counselor at the Valley School, Bangalore. Let's welcome Apurva Rajashekar to the discussion. Ten years ago, an avid meditator took a plunge out of her successful corporate career into the world of expressive arts therapy. Our next panelist uses various art modalities along with talk to facilitate powerful healing spaces for various people, from inmates of government-run observation homes to corporate groups as well as individuals. She's strongly rooted in Western constructs of therapy and also draws from Eastern practices of meditation, yoga, and breathwork. Let's hear it for our final panelist, Nidhi Khurana. A very, very warm welcome to our panelists who are going to enlighten you, going to show us the way. And it's so lovely to have each and every one of you out here. Whew. So let's kickstart our discussion today. So I'm going to pose a question to each of you, and you can all take turns answering this based on your experience working in different and diverse fields. So can you help me break down what alternative healing is for us, and how do you see its role within the mental health care? I would like to start with Ray.
I think I'd like to start with this very word, alternative healing. It's now graduated or upgraded itself to be known more to be holistic healing, integrated healing, not so much alternative. So Reiki has also been granted or to be called energy medicine now. Now, what is the role of energy itself? Whether be it in terms of healing the mind, the body, the spirit, is exactly what life has a role to play in everyone's life. So if I were to go in a little bit of detail, just imagine ourselves to be radio sets walking around. Yeah, all the time giving out signals and receiving signals. And the field of influence, that is the what we generally call the aura, is that space through which these signals are transmitted. Now, when that is going back and forth, it is imperative to perhaps understand or to get that all that is going on within the mind, the self conversation or the thinking process, is what is going out. And then when we are talking about the law of attraction kicking in, what is going out is also going to be coming in. Okay, so that's the paradox, going to be coming in. So it is important for us to become simply aware that if we are to attract what we wish to attract or what we want to magnetize, then we must give out corresponding signals of the same wavelength, right? So then the role of holistic healing comes in, which is I think the word holistic, if you break it down, comes from the root word whole and complete, holistic. So purification. So again, you go deeper into the root word of whole. You can go deeper into being holy, purifying, which we in our tradition would call sattva, sattvic. Yeah. So we are looking at how, like the panelists of the other day, you had, and at the outset, I must thank Unalome. This is a beautiful opportunity. And I got to hear the panelists the other day talking about how nutrition affects the mind. And similarly, in whatever our Shastras have, we have the body types, the attitudes, the aptitudes, also corresponding to the foods we eat. So we have the sattvic nature, the tamasic nature, essential nature, and the rajasic nature. And we have the same three categories of food as well. So if we're looking at sattvic thoughts, to purify thoughts, all of these healing techniques. Now, healing is not about curing. Healing is more profound than, say, a hot cup of coffee when you're stressed out, more profound than a hot shower, maybe when you're stressed out. So when you are working with energy, then we are looking at actually being able to create that field, that space where energy starts to flow in through whatever modality, clears the blocks of the energy flow, call it the nervous system, call it the nadis, the pathways. Once those are cleared, then you find there is clarity of thought. Once there is clarity of thought, then you're making the right decisions. And stresses are something that will, by default, just fade away, just go away. So it's the name of the game in my mind, to me, the name of the game is to clear the vortexes, which are the energy centers which draw the energy, harness the cosmic energy. Reiki simply being a Japanese word for cosmic energy, what we refer to as prana or Shakti. So once the antennas, so to speak, right? So the antennas are finer tuned. We are drawing in and harnessing the cosmic energy. The display is on your on the body, mind, and spirit simultaneously. Purification happening, holiness happening, wholeness happening. And thereafter, from that space, whatever thoughts are being generated from the radio set, the signals will attract and magnetize the same thoughts, events, and people and situations which resonate with the same frequency. So, yeah, so that's perhaps what I would say. Holistic healing, purifying thought, sending out purified thoughts, magnetizing purified thoughts. So that's, yeah, pretty much.
So is it then safe to...
Yeah, because I think Dr. Chaitanya will give us the complete breakup of what is the mind and all of that. So that I will leave to her.
So is it then safe to say that change first happens at an energetic level and then moves to the cognitive and behavioral level, and then finally in the reality that we have where we're meeting people and they notice, okay, wow, you've changed at a very deep level.
You got it. Well said, Dali. Thank you.
Would you like to shed some more light on that, Chaitanya?
Actually, Ray said so much. And you know what? That was exactly what I had. To me, so I believe a lot in using anecdotes. So I'm going to try to connect it in that aspect. So to me, it's energy, right? And I'm, my base, my roots is from Malnad, which is Western Ghats. So I've grown up with nature. And I want to take this simple example, which we all witness on an everyday basis if you're paying attention to, right? So, you know how for those of us in Bangalore, it just pours anytime and, the clouds just come in. My favorite way of centering, right? Getting into what Ray says, the vortex, right? Is through nature. So I start my day, I end my day, or at least I end my day for sure with nature. And, it was one of these days where I was going, oh, it started raining, right? And then the clouds were just, taking off. And I'm like, I don't mind getting wet. So I said, oh, I can park myself. So I like to sit on this little edge in my terrace where I can see nature. And slowly you start hearing the birds, there's a couple of squirrels, because I have a little bit of greenery, thankfully. The squirrel, the butterflies, and everything in life is speaking. Every aspect of nature, like what Dattatreya says, right? Everything is my guru. And that was when I just went, nature doesn't complain, right? That why are raining now? You shouldn't rain now, right? It's we people who have that. And the more closely I've been, connected to nature and animals now, I just find that we need to get in sync. And exactly like what Ray was saying, I don't like the word alternate, because it means if this doesn't work, it's this. No,
Right.
It should be this and this. And then something new might birth from that, And I want to give this. So it was in Malnad, we have this song called, which invokes the rain. And you listen to the rhymes that children say, rain, rain, go away. I heard my little niece was going to turn 4, say this one day, when we were, Bangalore was getting its rains a little later. And I just told her, oh my God, but we need rain for this. And when I sit in nature, she started observing me. And there was this beautiful day, where she's like this, it's just this little tricklets of rain. I don't know how she managed to go on the terrace. And when we asked her, what are you doing? She said, I'm bathing in the rain. So for her, water, whether it's from the rain or from your shower, was the same. And I think that to me actually talks of energy. What Ray was saying was healing, wholeness, right? Be it in my work, be it first with myself, And something that I see so beautifully with animals, they're in sync, right? In Tao, in Chi, you're in connected to life. So, that's what I really wanted to bring. And there's this one little anecdote. We all know this concept of Tatastu, right? Rajka, you'll have to tell me when to stop, okay? And, so I don't go on, because I feel, to me, psychology started with my grandparents.
Okay.
Your first, because we have this concept of Tatastu, right? So in our house, we don't say something is over or something is lacking. Okay, so my grandmother would always say, oh, there's a surplus of this. Can you make sure you bring, for example, let's say rice? And, and then one day it was, sorry about that. And one day I heard this urgency in her voice, right? She's like, I told you there's surplus sugar. Why aren't you bringing? And I'm this little child, okay, who's 6 years old, let's say. And I'm saying, why do you need more? And that's what my granny explained, which for me has been the basis of my life. She says, the Astu Devatas, which are the gods who bless, may say Tatastu at any point of time. So if you're focusing on lack, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have that, they're not going to go, oh, is this positive, is this negative? They can just say Tatastu. So I'm not saying we undermine what a person's going through, but we hold that mirror to wholeness. Yes, you're going through this. Yes, this is happening, like this Sagar Manthan, but what we're aiming to is this. Maybe we don't put it at that point of time, but that's the aim, we hold. So, this is what I wanted to really tie it up with. And I think the reason I wanted to bring in this, than getting into concepts of this is the mind and this is this, I think it is energy, and I think firstly, I think this is the first time which actually talks of integration. So kudos to the whole Unalome team, because I'm normally called as a sports psychologist or as a therapist. It's the first time where someone's thought, what, she actually applies, so let's get her. So I think this is real integration. And as we weave in, Rachika, I think we'll get into the nuances of it. But for now, I think this is what I wanted to bring in.
No, that's super powerful. I mean, that just goes to show the power of narratives and the power of the way that we define things. With that, I would like to move to Apurva to shed some light on this particular question.
Wow. Ray and Chaitanya have really set the tone for today's panel discussion, I must say. Definitely, resonate with what they said, right? Alternate healing is more in line with natural healing. So if we take off all these terms, right, alternate and natural and holistic and everything, and look at healing as such, right? So what Ray and Chaitanya mentioned, right? So healing at different layers, right? You're not really addressing only separately, like only the physical or the mental or the spiritual, right? You're looking at all of it together, and addressing one realm of it definitely has an impact on the other. Right? Having a good nutrition has an impact on your mindset. Having good thoughts does have an impact in terms of good health, right? In your body, right? So energy manipulation or energy healing definitely flows into your other bodies. Right? So here, when we are talking about alternative healing, there is no bifurcation as mind and body. It's inseparable. You're looking at it as a whole, right? You're not just looking at the symptom, but you're looking at the whole being. Right? You're going into the root cause of it. Now, working at an energy level, you will see the results and the manifestation of that in the body. Right? So there is a lot of potential in terms of reprogramming deep-rooted psychological issues, psychological habits, and even physical ailments. Right? So the potential is endless. Right? Because it is natural. We are tapping into something which is already present in the person. The resources already exist. Right? We just need to find out what works for this person, which is in line with their belief, where they are more receptive to set that tone, set that soil, for that growth to take place. Right? So a lot depends on each one of us, on the individual, and these are just external supports, different modalities, and all of it works. It's not like only this one works, or okay, but definitely the pandemic has given an opportunity for people to pay attention to mental health. Right? It has definitely reduced the stigma around mental health issues. Right? So earlier in my practice, I would notice that clients would have met different fields of experts and then come to the psychologist at the end. Right? None of it works. Maybe there's something wrong with the way I think, right? But now it's the other way around. I don't want to depend on anything external. I would like to learn what are my patterns. How is that I can understand myself and lead a better quality life. Right? So definitely there has been a shift, and I must say this webinar is much timely because there is so much awareness that is increasing, right? And connecting to people who are out there, who are available, and it's not the load on any one field, right? It has to be integrated, it has to be supported, right? Only then we can look at the overall health and well-being of humanity and better.
So lovely put. And I think that explains why we have such a huge crowd of people watching us today, because they're all invested in their own growth and they're all interested in understanding how they can develop those internal resources of well-being.
Exactly.
With that, Nidhi, would you like to finally shed some light before we move to the next round?
Thank you so much. It's been just so heartwarming. Like I'm present to a gush of sensations in my body, listening to Ray, listening to Chaitanya, listening to Apurva, and that just sort of further goes on to corroborate the fact that mind and body and energy don't function separately. And I don't think I would be exaggerating if I would say that all of us are really this energetic, psychosomatic unity, and which is why what we really call as, I think I also have an issue with alternative healing. Right. It is not alternative healing, really, just that our modern culture sort of tells us that modern medicine, treat the body separately, treat the mind separately. But really, all of this comes together, and which is where expressive arts therapy that I have been practicing really sort of, I feel it makes a lot of difference, because body, which is otherwise maybe left a little outside the room in a psychotherapy process, wherein it's a very cognitive, it can tend to be a cognitive engagement. Body is at the center of work. I wouldn't say that psychotherapy doesn't work. It's really not one size fits all. Like there are people for whom psychotherapy works brilliantly. I was in psychotherapy for quite some time. But in expressive arts therapy, we bring the body and sensations and flow of energy in the center of the context. So really seeing an individual not separately as a body and a mind, but tuning in with the body and seeing how that impacts the mind. And so all the additional threads that we've discussed here, nutrition, stage of life, the culture we belong to, we are all so much a product of every single thought that emanates, every word that goes out of our mouths, that it's actually baffling for me as I'm still unraveling, so much wisdom that lies in this. And besides, and since I also have a lot of spiritual inclinations and explorations, I'm exploring things like swara yoga, working with the breath, seeing the impact of homa or fire, working with elements and tattvas, and how everything impacts how the brain functions. And again, even as I say that, there's a thought that kicks in that says that, oh, but we think that nervous system is the brain, but it's not just the brain. There's a peripheral nervous system running through the body, and which is why the importance of the body in the entire process. And I don't know if it resonates with people, but I feel it's an invitation right now from my side to the audience to really notice what happens in their body through the conversation. What are the different sensations that come up? There could be tingles, like I feel a gush of warmth in my heart right now, in my chest center. So just to tune in, what is happening in their body right now? What are they feeling? Is there a pain? Is there contraction? Is there tingle? Are there sensations? Are there any images? Are there memories that are coming in? And to really enter the space with all of them with the entirety of their being, the psyche, the soma, the energy, just all of that we see and don't see about ourselves. So yeah, I mean, I feel this conversation is relevant, extremely relevant, much needed, and something that needs to happen again and again. And I feel, Unalome project is doing some absolutely mind-blowing work. My heart really goes out to you guys, I mean, to really bring all of this in the center of, as the centerpiece of really the dialogue in the society. And uh, I really hope that people drop some of those myths and notions that they carry about energy healing, therapy, exploring these things, and just sort of maybe experiment with some of this with an open mind, with curiosity. Maybe see what resonates. Try one, try another, but not to just write it off as, oh, it's not for me. I'm good. You know, it's yeah. I really hope that this is an initiative in that direction. Yeah, and I'm so glad to be a part of this. So glad.
I love that. I love that so much. And like, I'm pretty sure everyone's just checking in with their bodies to see where they're feeling what. And I'm definitely feeling a warmth and gush in my heart because of everything you're saying is just hitting a note. It's just hitting a note so deep. With that, we can move into the curated section where I've designed a few questions for each of you. So the first question is for Ray and Nidhi. We'll start with Ray. How do alternative therapies, including Reiki, art, music, herbs, meditation, or just connecting with the nature, impact mental health? Maybe we can go one level deeper to maybe talk about an example so that the audience kind of understand how it looks in real life. There we go.
So nature and Reiki, arts, body movement, all of this, they all are actually integrated. So it's the same thing. So since we are made up organically of all the elements that nature has, I think it would be not far from the truth to say that if we are drawing in the natural energy, there's got to be that impact. I think we just spoke a lot about that, the same point, and integrate that whole thing in order to, how does it impact mental health is, I think is only scratching the tip of this iceberg. What exactly is mental health? Is it to do with how positive we are thinking? Is it to do with how easily we get stressed out? I would rather go a little bit, one layer deeper and talk about how these therapies or how these sciences would be able to help us change, transform our reactions to whatever is happening around us. From the stress response to the relaxation response. That's all that is required. Now, when we have triggers, right, at the moment as we speak, a couple of sneezes, a couple of cough in the day, yeah? Oh my God, let's go to the doctor. Oh my God, So the whole thing is, how are we responding now to a couple of coughs and sneezes vis-a-vis what we did 2 years ago? And why have we started? Now, the question is, why do we catastrophize so easily? Why are we falling victim to? Now, a simple thing, if you eat ice cream, this is it would probably come into one of the myths or superstitions or lack of, awareness. If you eat ice cream, you'll hurt your throat. You'll get a sore throat. If you get a sore throat, it will affect your tonsils. Yeah. If you get inflammation in your tonsils, it could go down into your lungs. Now, wait. Okay, we are going into that stress mode. It'll go into your lungs, and then it will be called upper respiratory tract infection. And oh my God, which means you'll have to get hospitalized because all of us have the oximeter now. Yeah. Oh, is the oxygen levels dipping? Okay. So now if I get to the hospital, I'm going to be, put on antibiotics, and the antibiotics are going to do X, Y, Z. And then finally, I'm going to do the ventilator. And then from the ventilator, it's a one-way street. Now, ice cream is equivalent to ventilator, which was not there a couple of years ago. So how can we change that? By simply bringing about the energy to the mind, to be able to equate ice cream to something which is joyful as an experience. So we go right back into, think of your favorite ice cream, your favorite uncle who visited from California and said, come on, guys, come on, kids, let's have a treat today. Your mother's not got any dessert on the table. So what about ice cream? Do you guys have something like organic ice cream in this country? Oh, yes, Naturals has just come in. And okay, wow. So what would you have? And I'm like, mango. I love those, those pieces of mango in the ice cream, because that was very novel at that time. So mango ice cream with Alfonso mango pieces. And I'm like totally in it. And the association with ice cream is joy, favorite uncle, California, holiday in Florida, going to Disneyland. So that is the neuro pathway, which has now got developed into, that circuiting, how the brain is firing signals, is the same object, ice cream, when your mind is going into that reverse, or call it into the stress mode, it is showing up as ventilator, the end of the world. So how do you flip that? When you practice any of these modalities, you find that all of this strength, the energy, the vibration, the connection, the finer tuning, whatever you may want to call it, starts to recalibrate your entire motherboard. We need a motherboard recalibration, basically. Change it, chuck it out of the window. Now, without denying the fact, we're not going into denial, that, as Chaitanya said, this is what it is. So start with acceptance. So we talked about it the last time, I think we met on another program. Embrace all that is. Embrace your illness. It is there to teach you something. It is there for a reason. Every person, place, situation, event is there in your life for a reason. Not only, esoterically reason, that is my karma, that's why you're here, but simply because we have signed up for this ride. And the guy who's going to sit next to me for that merry-go-round or for that waterwork ride is going to be X. So first thing is acceptance. Let's get to point ground zero. Acceptance of what is. The question here to the universe or to yourself or to the intellect is not, why is this happening to me? There's never going to be an answer to a why. The insights you get is provided you ask the right kind of question. Now what? As soon as you've asked now what, the firing starts, right? So the more and more you're finer tuned to nature, finer tuned in sync with life force, your insights will also be resonating with, okay, call it positive for now, for the lack of a better term, right? Everything that supports life, not negates life. Now, there are two types of stresses. This discussion I had once very, very long ago when I was giving an introduction to Reiki with the Rotarians. I will not forget this. When one gentleman came and said, Madam, what do you know about stress and, meeting targets and facing deadlines? And, you've come and said, okay, give yourself Reiki and all stress will go. So that was the time, it just downloaded, and I still hold it very dear to me, is that if we were to address stress, for the sake of a conversation, could we put it into positive stress and negative stress? Just for hypothetically. So positive stress could be inspiration, could be that amount of, that push you need to go, to go over to the other side. Something that would give you that fuel to actually push your 100% into something. And the negative stress would be when you're allowing it to eat into you, when you're allowing it to not work for you. It is disempowering you. So whenever a thought comes, if my question to myself is this thought empowering me or is this thought disempowering me? If it is empowering me, it's positive stress. If it is disempowering me, it's negative stress. So it's all about inner work. Some of us have used Reiki as that tool for inner work, just about de-weeding and coming up with what is it that empowers me, which is going to be in sync with nature and in sync with my purpose on this planet. Because I do firmly believe that I was not born here because my parents had nothing better to do one night. I'm here with a purpose. And I realized that I need to decode that. It's a code, pretty much like an apple seed is coded to become its highest potential, which is an apple tree. Right to the formation of leaf, to the aroma, to the fragrance, to the texture, etc. It will not be diverted. Somewhere we have come with the code and we have been getting diverted. So Corona here has put us back into perspective. Get back, get in, decode. Understand why you are here. So all that we were doing all this time was not the goal, was the means to the goal. Somewhere we got lost in the means. So homecoming. So when you start doing inner work, you're walking that path within because that code is within, that Brahma Gyan is within. You decode it and all the talents and the gifts that you're endowed with, DNA, if diabetes and hypertension can be in the DNA, why can't gifts come in DNA? Then once you have touched upon what are you gifted with, put it out there to serve humanity. And then the universe conspires to put everything into place. Now, the path you choose could be, you can get even stressed out doing your gift and talent display, right? So now it is how you use your intelligence. So is this empowering me? Is this disempowering me? Am I putting in an effort or am I running into a struggle? Is this my want? Is it my need? Right? So, yeah, like Chaitanya says, you'll have to stop me. And you've anyways introduced me as a passionate speaker, so I think I better. Next time, please change that to passionate listener. I'll be very glad if you upgrade me. Thank you, sweethearts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that insight on rewiring the thought loop, the thought process that happens. Nidhi, do you have anything else to add to this?
Sure. It was such a pleasure to listen to you, Ray, and so many important things that you mentioned. And I want to just add on and build on some of those
Please.
points. The first one being disease. The whole culture of looking disease as a problem that needs to be fixed, the body that needs to be fixed, and not looking at disease as the message that the body is giving that, hey, listen to me. I have been metabolizing this for so many years. I've been suppressing things for so many years. I am telling you now, work with me, accept me how I am, and then we'll figure out a way together. So in fact, a disease surfacing up is a great thing. Many people may fire me for this, but it's actually the body is letting things arise and emerge and drawing your attention. And the least we can do is really just sit with it, listen to it. So this whole catastrophizing of, and if people, and I was also one of those people who would just Google, an acne could possibly mean death, a headache could possibly mean you have a tumor. It's how media and overload and bombardment of information has contributed to this catastrophizing. And the call of the hour is to sit down and discern for ourselves.
does it really make sense to me? Is it really for me? So I've really learned it the hard way in last 5-6 years to not catastrophize every single thing that my body is trying to tell me. I also, in response to the question that it was Rachika, and Ray very beautifully touched upon the aspect of the nervous system, and I would like to bring that in a little bit, just for it to, just for people who are scientifically inclined and who process and receive things through the left brain, just to make a little sense to them.
Yes, please.
So we have two kinds of nervous systems, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is really the deepest, most ancient part of the brain, which helps us respond to danger. So that's the alert. That's the system that's on high alert. And then the parasympathetic nervous system is the rest and digest. So really, if we look at the cycle of the body, how it normally functions is sympathetic. There's a danger. Sympathetic nervous system kicks in. There's a fight, flight, freeze, or any other kind of response. And then parasympathetic kicks in to calm it down. So it's a cycle. There's a crest and there's a trough, and there's a crest and there's a trough. So if we let the body follow its natural cycle, then it does not metabolize into physical and mental issues. But now our culture tells us, oh, don't be sad. I'm sure all of us have heard that growing up, and we still do. We still tell each other, oh, don't be angry, or don't be sad, or why are you crying? Even men don't cry, but even women find it hard to cry in public. And so we are arresting the natural cycle, the natural order of things, and the cycle is not moving. So what ends up happening is we remain arrested in the sympathetic nervous system. That response gets locked. And so we are constantly responding with stress. We are constantly seeing danger everywhere. Everything looks like a threat. The tendency to get offended, to feel bad, to see everything as, oh, this person is trying to harm me. What can go wrong here? Like a hyper focus on how something is doomed or how something is not going to work. And that is really the response of the sympathetic nervous system. And I wonder if all of us here, the audience, could just reflect and see how often they tend to use that lens to look at situations. Now, what we do in expressive arts therapy is when we bring in the body, we try to regulate the nervous system. The nervous system that has been hijacked, we try to bring it down to its normal regulatory function, wherein there's an upsurge of emotion. And then the emotion is dealt with, there's calm as well. So how to really set that balance? For me, very, very simple things have worked really well in my client work, from grounding, connecting with earth, imagining roots growing from the body into the earth, and allowing oneself to receive that nourishment and love and stability from the earth. I really encourage my clients to go and spend some time in the morning. I was so moved by what Chaitanya said, her thing with nature. Nature is so beautifully regulatory. Connect with the sunset, connect with the sunrise. Allow your body to really sensorially engage with everything, from what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste. And just dropping from the head into the body is itself like you're giving the natural healing capacities of the body a chance. So which is why talk, and plus many of these modalities, because talk is, I feel, indispensable. We do all of this work with other modalities, but how do we harvest it back with talk? We bring it back to life with talk. But in expressive arts therapy, the core of the work happens with these modalities, wherein we engage with the body, we engage with the energies, we engage with other parts of the brain, except the cortex, wherein the thoughts lie. And then we bring it back to life, we bridge it back to life. And so I feel these alternative modalities, energies, psychotherapeutic modalities, expressive arts, mindfulness, meditations, kriyas, they all have a beautiful, beautiful role to play. And it's only going to become more and more important in the times to come.
I sure hope so. I really, really hope so, Nidhi. Would you suggest maybe a 2 to 3 minute practice that people can take home with to just calm their nervous system down whenever they notice that things are a bit aggravated? Maybe they're stressed with work, or the stress because of family. So what are some really simple practicable things that they can do?
Sure. We could maybe do a 2-minute process right now, which is very simple. And for that, we don't need to really prep a lot, which is wherever people are sitting, I encourage them to find some support for their back, like really rest their back against the surface and feel the presence of their spine against the surface, finding their head on their shoulder and finding their sit bones wherever they are sitting. And whenever they feel that the body is rested, maybe let your attention go towards 4 things that you can hear, 4 sounds that you can hear around you. It could be an ambient sound. It could be the sound of your heartbeat. Just connecting with 4 sounds. Now connecting with maybe 2 smells. What is it that you can smell around you? Maybe tea or coffee around since it's evening, or incense or candle or food being cooked. Now letting your attention go towards any taste in the mouth. Could be from the lunch or an evening snack. Now gently letting your attention drift towards what do you feel in contact with your skin. It could be your hair falling on your neck. It could be your clothes in contact with your skin. For me, it's my headphone that I can feel against my face. It could be the bed sheet, the chair that you're sitting on. Just exploring what are the different parts of your body touching. Maybe it's air for some people if the fan is on or the windows are open. And now opening your eyes and just looking around the room, very agenda-lessly, just looking, just gazing at the things in your physical space. And so this is one of the practices that we call sensorial arrival. So being constantly caught in a spiral of thoughts, when you find that you're getting very stressed, there's a difficult meeting at work, you just can't pull out, just sit and engage with your senses in the space that you're in. And then you can follow it up with, say, some deep breathing, longer exhalation than inhalation if possible, because longer exhalation is what kickstarts the parasympathetic nervous system, and that starts calming the system down. And of course, if there are balconies, terraces, just step out, feel your feet on the floor. So they sound very simple, but they're just so powerful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nidhi, for that. That was a very, very welcome 2-minute pause in this conversation. I think we're ready to take this conversation a little deeper. So my next question is for Apurva and Chaitanya. So we hear words like stress, anxiety, depression a lot these days. In your opinion, do you think we're using these words frivolously, not really understanding what they mean? And if that is the case, then how can we better educate ourselves to know the difference between the three and know exactly what we're feeling and name it correctly? So maybe we can start with you, Chaitanya.
Why me first? Apurva, if you want to go, I'm perfectly fine to go after you. Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm, absolutely in awe of just how this is weaving together. I remember Ray when, who's been my beautiful mentor for so long. I started my healing journey with her. She'd once told, any place that you're going to, ask permission. And my journey, I'm going to weave it in, Rachika. You will have to bear with me. I don't answer a question very directly, okay? And I hope that's okay. Is to me, their field. Like even if you look at us here, right, the four panelists and the beautiful moderator, there's a field here, right? So each one of us is only when we bring ourselves, right? And I think I see a connection with what Ray was saying, what Nidhi did, what Apurva, all of us were talking through is this space of emergence. There's something which comes together. So it's that field of potential, right? And there's this, the shaman way of healing. So they say there's this very interesting anecdote I read somewhere that if you go to a shaman or a medicine man, right? And you say, I'm feeling low. I have an issue with the way these words are thrown around nowadays. Like I hear athletes saying, you know what, I'm bipolar. I'm one thing at home and another thing at somewhere else. So I said, then I have all the illnesses. So I'm like, leave that to me. I know when, what's happening. So, if you go to a medicine man, he asks four things. Okay. When did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop laughing? And when did you stop believing in stories? Right? And I think that to me really held something. And I want to use this quote of Jung. I'm training also to be a Jungian analyst. And it's such a beautiful quote, which brings in here is, he asks the question, what do as a child that made the hours seem like minutes? Therein lies the key to your earthly pursuits, right? And as I was listening to Ray, to Nidhi, to Apurva, to me, right? Do you see that this is neuroscience? We're talking, each one is talking of mirroring. What am I bringing here? Because if I am not in sync with nature, right? So to me, it's play. And this is something I'm going to bring in the elephants. And this is something I use a lot with athletes, right? I work with the athletic, the competitive athletes. It's Krida, right? Krida and Khel. Our highest award is Khel Ratna. What is Khel is play. But there's only sport. Sometimes I ask an athlete, how did you deal last time? And just yesterday it happened. This one's giving me her entire schedule. And I said, and here you is there life energy? Where's that spontaneity? So for me, it's a lot of improv. You look at a child and elephants. So I work with captive elephants, right? I mean, sorry, I don't work. I've been involved because I think it's a very simultaneous process which happens, and they've been so abused, they've been so traumatized, but they get your tone. They understand your intent. They'll put out their trunk. They want you to blow into it. And then you play around. They play around with each other. No matter how, it's not just the young baby elephants, which we go, oh, it's only we adults that we have forgotten. I think Ray was talking on purpose. So for me, it's two things. Is we've become this very consumerist. I want this. It's like ticking boxes. Right, yes, I can see Supriya saying Elise. I use Elise. So, it's not that. And I want so many medals. I want so much money. Fine, it's important. Why? And what Ray was saying, what will you do with it? And how am I contributing? So, when that's not there, look at Phelps, Michael Phelps, the most decorated athlete, was suffering through, is I think still suffering through penile depression. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just going, when you go beyond yourself, to that purpose, to that teleological life is teleological, forward movement. How can I move from successful to inspiring? And I want to say one of these things I heard Sakshi Malik, I think we were in a panel together, and Sakshi Malik is, the beautiful bronze medalist during Olympics, Rio. She was the one who broke the jinx, the first one who finally got the medal. And she said, of course, the dream of every athlete is an Olympic medal. Also, what's important, when someone young in rural India, right, comes and tells me, Didi, aapke wajah se, I get to train. I still get goosebumps, It's like And you look at a Federer, you look at a Nadal, you look at a Rahul Dravid. Have we moved from being successful to inspiring? If I am not enjoying this conversation, then I will just be doing, a lip talk. It becomes very cognitive, but when it's embodied, I think what each one of us trying to say here is embodied. And for me, that came through the LE. So, when we don't, and even, your depression, I think each one was saying, when you're saying disease, if you look at the word, it's dis-ease. The body is not in ease. What is the body trying to tell me? What is this? We say you need to go into the depth. You all know Sagar Mantri, right? The ocean. First comes the poison. Comes the Amrut. The poison is taken by benevolent Shiva. Right? So this notion of I should not feel pain, I should not suffer, I think it's only 2 days. Like when I look at my grandparents, they were a lot happier than we've been, or my parents' generation, I felt was much more anxious. And I think that's what it is. When we lack, why am I doing what? What is the purpose? Right? If someone asks me, why do I travel so far to be with them? I come back physically drained, but my soul is dancing. It's such a beautiful encounter with the LEs, So, these are, and why is mental, that's the question. I think I'm going to also take it from another angle. Why is it getting so predominant? Right? So, I hit a low, someone will say I'm depressed. Or, I didn't get this. I've had athletes tell me, oh, you know what, I haven't done well in 2 competitions. I'm going to quit. Look at it, where what's missing, there's something very deeply missing, and this is where the concept of ritual, like what Nidhi was talking about, was this for me, I will always connect to where I'm coming from. When I sit with the clouds and I face the other way, we have like buildings, all right, you're in this open space, and we've all had that encounter with nature, with a music, with a dance, with a beautiful discussion, right? Your breath settles in. And I think that's the key. Are we running on this mill and forgotten to be in the now? It's something like, like what I started with this, that my niece was showing. A child does, a dog, a cat. Have we noticed? Have we? And when Nidhi was talking, something that I do with that is, I let them talk, and then I go, you know what? Let's actually just get into breath. So I let that little venting. It's only then can you put into whatever. Sometimes with the younger ones, I use play. So I also get to play around and dance, and they're so open. You put in what you have to make them do, shavasana finished. Job done. So, the key is to go, I call it the story behind the story. What is this angst telling me? There's a purpose, there's a reason. What needs to be addressed? And, I'll give you one little example. There was this very young girl, who would lose from a winning position. Okay. And she was this introverted, very sweet, but, very to herself. So the coach made 2 very key points. One, he said, Chaitanya, she doesn't like spotlight. So in our head, what goes, oh, she's an introvert, right? Second was, he said, she's had a traumatic childhood. Right. Now, this is a 14-year-old girl. How do you do this inner child integration, right? For me, performance is secondary, her angst is everything. But this individual, we started with, what is the story of this individual? Very gradually took her through, so it was abuse, it was physical abuse. Every time she was pulled forward was to get beaten. Mm-hmm. Now, and I did a little bit as much as I could, going very gently, knowing that it's such a young child, right? Can she handle it? And then with that, the next session, she said, ma'am, I actually held that little girl. So are we looking at what is actually trying to see the illness? What's my body? What's happening within me? Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
There was a little bit of a lag, just for a second. But I'm getting the sense. Better now? I'm getting the sense that you're essentially coming to the point that yes, we do use words like stress frivolously, like anxiety and depression frivolously, but the idea is to really understand where we're coming from. What is our purpose for doing this? Whether it's entering sports, what is our purpose? What is our inspiration that's taking us forward? And then automatically these words will kind of fall off, the noise will fall off because we're more focused and we're more driven by the inspiration of it. Apurva, would you like to
look for the
comment?
gift?
Yes, of course.
In whatever it is.
Yeah, definitely. As you're hearing all the panelists, I think each one of us can gaze the depth of work that goes into each of their modalities of practice, right? And it's a mutual learning, right, for the client and the practitioner as well. I'll try and give my response, which relates to both question 2 and 1, right? Realistically speaking, stress, anxiety, and depression is something that we all face, right? We all have felt this, right? But the dangers in today's world is that we have trained our mind to be one-sided, right? Which is very intellectualized. And we are accustomed to think in a certain way. Like the example Ray was giving, how we overestimate stress, how we overestimate a particular threat, right? Because of the associations we have made. So what if this happens? And we have gone to the extent of the worst case scenario, and we're responding to that when initially the trigger is itself not taken place. Right? So what Nidhi and what Chaitanya was mentioning, is it possible in those moments to make a shift to a state of relaxation? That's what these healing modalities does. Help shift to the state of relaxation where there is refocus of mental energy. Right? It allows the person to refocus his or her mental energy into the line of whatever they were doing earlier, right? That moment of pause. And the example that Nidhi gave, right? Is it possible for us to empower with all of these skills, practical coping skills, where we could use it anytime, anywhere? Just pause and find that regulation in our emotions, in our thoughts. Right? So beautifully, stress was explained. There is eustress, there is distress, right? And because of our thinking mind, it acts as a block, right? We cannot just give an outlet to that stress. So it is there, right? So every time there is a trigger, this keeps coming up, we keep blocking. But unfortunately, the threat now is not like how it was earlier. There's no threat in terms of survival, but there is threat in terms of the mental judgments. Right? What are people going to think? The fear of judgment is so high, right? So therefore the anxiety, right? Some comment from someone or even a standard that you're not able to meet for yourself leads to another perturbed state, right? So yes, it is very real that we all face these different emotions, right? Stress, anxiety, and depression it's all there, part of it. But it is not something that we are constantly facing, and it's not something that it kind of stops our functioning. Right. So there is a difference in your regular experience of these different emotional instability, but the clinical depression is very different. When we are diagnosing with someone with generalized anxiety disorder, it's very different from the normal anxiety that we face. Right? Right? Like you have a presentation and there is a bit of this anxiety, which is good. It helps you to overcome, and you know that you can face this. Right? So those are something which adds value to your life, right? But the extent of anxiety is such a severity that for some they're unable to function.
Right.
Where they're isolated, they're lonely, they try to battle these mental difficulties on their own. Right? So it really depends on where the client is in their journey. So you will be able to gauge, right, when they're using these words, how they're using it, in a very jovial manner, and also because of the awareness, right? There's so much of overload of information out there, and we articles on stress and anxiety and depression, all of that, right? So we tend to it becomes a part of our vocabulary, right? But yes, there are certain markers that we can see. First, How is my quality of sleep? How's my appetite? How's my activities? Has there been a dip? Right? Have I been losing interest in the thing that I normally do? Even that I'm, losing interest. Right? How's my interaction with people? Right? Have I isolated myself from interacting with people who are close to me? So all of these are signs, right? What we say as pillars of psychological well-being: there is sleep, there is appetite, there is diet, and there is purpose of life that we all talked about so far, right? What is the meaning that we give to the activities that we are engaging in? If I don't find meaning in my life, then definitely it's impacts your thinking, correct? Right? So it is present. So let's not try to escape from it. It is present, it is realistic, but like what Ray was saying earlier, acceptance is important, but I will mention another step before that: awareness. I need to be aware of what is happening. So that is when the why questions help, right? A lot of kids, like I said, we are at an age where have this intellectual mind, right? We need answers. We need to know. Why do we research about everything? Because we want to know. And some of the knowing helps us to prepare. Sometimes it's even worse. It leads to paranoia as well, right? But that knowing helps. So why me? Why now? Why this? All of these questions are there, but it can also be like a trap, right? When you are going around with this question, but not, leading anywhere. But it's important to start from the place of awareness. Let me be aware of what are my patterns, right? And I can only make a change once I accept where I am now. And all the modalities that were shared by the other panelists definitely helps to pause that thinking mind, right? To detach ourselves from those thoughts. We're not identifying with these threats. We're not identifying with these negative thoughts. We are detaching, we're creating that pause, and we are just observing these thoughts. And we know that it's just assumption of what if, but in reality, that has not taken place. Right? So that awareness is important, and then comes acceptance. Right? Acceptance, and then comes the change. You can't make a change from this ideal position. I want to be this person, and from there I will kind of work on myself. No, there will always be that gap. The real me and the ideal me, right? But where am I now? I can only make a change from now, right? So empowering ourselves with these realistic strategies definitely kind of helps in our journey. See, all the examples that we shared, be it knowledge, be it expression, be it nature, whose is it to own? It's out there, right? So it's for individual willingness to be able to push themselves up and equip themselves with all of this. Right? So it is definitely possible to come over these obstacles that we have created ourselves. Right? So if we create illness, of course we can create healing.
Of course, yes.
Right? We are the creators in our journey, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Why not trust that and then move?
Speaking of healing, what do you think the process of healing really looks like? It's definitely not a one-stop solution. There is a process to it. And people, when they're on this journey, they're not able to really tell whether they're making progress or they're not making progress. So maybe if, Nidhi, you could shed some light on what the process of healing really looks like. Maybe speak about an example where you saw tangible changes in your client or your patient.
Well, the process of healing is anything but linear. If we try to sort of put milestones, oh, I'm getting better every 1 month, every 3 months, 6 months, I will be out of therapy and I will be completely healed, responding how I should be responding. It's really not that. The process of healing is so bumpy. It's up and down and up and down. And sometimes one may also feel, and I really speak from my experience, my personal experience as well, that, oh, there is regression. I think I'm falling back or I'm getting worse. But that's the thing. That's where it's important to just stay, like just hang in there. Because when we are entering our deeper psyche, when we are entering our body, we are unraveling and uncovering maybe stuff that we've been holding our entire life. The energies that we've absorbed in our childhood. As an infant in the mother's womb, we might also be carrying impressions from past lifetimes. So it's not an easy journey at all, but it's very, very enriching. it's very promising, but it's hard and it's painful. There are days I feel miserable. Like, why the hell am I doing all of this to myself? But that's when it's important to just like the gifts of this journey, of embarking on this journey, are numerous. So if I give specific client examples, I've been working with a client since last year with a certain break in between this year, and now we're working again since about 6 months. And I've seen how she has been able to sort of detach herself a little bit from trauma in childhood. There was huge enmeshment with the mother, and how she's able to see herself distinctly as an individual and not just this being that is emanated from the mother's body. So she's able to, so from power always being vested outside of her in what the mother says, what the other people say, she has been able to access that, that inner compass, that sense of knowing within that no, this is not me, despite the fact that the rest of the world tells me this is how you should be. So also negotiating and navigating the usual dilemma of belonging versus authenticity. Sometimes we abandon authenticity because we want to belong to family, to peers, to just our cohort, our community, and then we shun ourselves because it's hard. It's so hard to stand apart from the crowd. It's so hard to own the truth, to speak our truth. And so slowly we are navigating that, taking a stand for herself, saying from something as simple as, oh, I'm not going to have a delivery at my mother's place because my mother stresses me out. And how taking that stand in front of the husband and the rest of the family that this is not what I want for my baby and for myself as I go through the most important process in my life of birthing a life. So it is slow, it is bumpy, it is regression and aggression in terms of forward movement. It's falling on the wayside and then coming back up and slowly getting back on it. So, yeah.
That's so well put. It's never going to be linear. It's always going to be concentric, and it's going to keep happening. And it's a part of life. And I think the sooner that we accept, embrace, and move on, it only makes sense. And also including all of these things that you spoke about into our toolkit of healing, whether it's being out of nature, whether it's checking in with our body, whether it's touch healing, all of it just amplifies our growth in terms of healing.
And one last word that I want to add is pausing. Our culture tells us that life is about constantly being busy and very productive and maxing it out. But how about just pausing, checking in with the body? What do you want today? What do you need today? And just pause, pause, pause. That's so critical.
So true. With that, we come to the end of this round. I just have one last question in this round. If each of you could maybe say one sentence or a couple of words of what you think, what according to you is the future of the mental health industry and the role of alternative healing in it. Just a few words maybe, or a sentence. Whoever would like to start.
I would say integration. Right now, there is so much of bifurcation. Okay, this is Eastern, this is conventional, this is traditional, this is ancient, right? So integration, I do see that, mental health being part of treatment, right? There are already organizations who are realizing the importance of it, and there is collaborative work going on, right? So that's brilliant. So that's the way forward, I feel.
Absolutely. Sharing of definitions. Ray, do you have any thoughts on this? The future of mental health in a few words?
Connection and communication.
Yes, community is important.
Connecting with oneself and with the self outside. And I think communication is important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would also say normalization of these conversations, being able to say that, you know what, I don't feel like showing up today because I don't feel so well, emotionally well. I feel low, I feel down, and not having shame about saying that in front of 20 others, be it at workplace, be it in the family or with friends, just normalizing of this whole conversation.
Yep, I think we're on our way and going there, reaching there slowly, definitely. What about you, Chaitanya?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I think for me, it would be a field of potential. Just see what's emerging. There's so much beauty in everything, that let it emerge, than sticking to this or that. It's definitely field of potential.
Yep. There we have it.
And synergy.
Integration, synergy, communication, community. That is the future of mental health. And I'm so happy and so glad to be facilitating this conversation, first of its kind, with all of you lovely people. Honestly, at this point, I have so many more questions, but I do know that we're short on time. And I also want to give some time to the lovely audience to have question and answers with you. So we'll move into two fun rounds now. As you know, it's the agree or disagree round. And we know the drill. This is agree and this is disagree. So let's just get right into it. Talk therapy works for everyone. Agree or disagree? Chaitanya, I can't see your hand. Okay, the next question. I will know when I have a mental health issue. I don't need anyone to tell me. Do you agree or disagree? Chaitanya, yeah, okay, awesome. Can see you now. Mentally strong people don't feel depressed. Certain psychedelic substances may be the future of mental health care. Okay. The consumerist world that we live in is a fertile ground for so many of the mental health issues. Okay. Chaitanya, you're trying to say something? You're on mute.
I didn't hear that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll repeat myself.
Okay.
So the consumerist world that we live in is a fertile ground for different mental health issues. Now, this is a fun one. The ancient wisdom holds unlocked wisdom in the area of mental health. Sounding, yes, that is. Meditation can only be done while we're sitting still. Medicines like SSRIs are necessary in the case of mental illness.
It helps to a certain extent.
Gray area.
Gray area, all right. And the last one being mental illnesses are only manageable but not curable. Awesome, love it. Now we move on to the lightning round. So I would request each of you to unmute yourselves as we'll be quickly moving from one person to the next. So the order that we'll follow is Ray, Apurva, Nidhi, and Chaitanya. So let's start. What's your go-to food or drink for healing when you want to feel better?
Lime juice. Lemonade.
Water.
Nature.
Nature. Chaitanya?
Nature.
Okay.
Nature.
Okay. Now bust one healing myth, the one that irritates you the most.
Again, come again.
So I'm asking you to bust one healing myth, the one that irritates you the most.
The one that irritates me. Okay. I want to, my husband is very angry, is an angry man. My son isn't studying. Teach me Reiki. So it's always that you out there need to be fixed. That is very annoying for me. Yeah.
Apurva?
Can you hypnotize my family members and see what they're thinking about me?
Okay. Nidhi?
Overarching emphasis on positivity that more often than bypassing and suppression.
Right.
So be positive is what I have a lot of issues with.
Yeah, I think I pretty much echo. It doesn't work. I'm positive, but it doesn't work. So I hear this all the time. And what is it? I can do it. That's it. That's mental health. That's their psychology. There's no belief, but just trying to say, and this use of positivity.
Right, for sure. If there was one simple practice you could tell the world to do, what would it be?
meditate, pause, sit over things. That's what I meant by meditate. In this context, it would be that.
Yeah, definitely. Meditate and connect to yourself and to nature.
I would say the simplest and the most profound for me would be breath. Connect with your breath in various ways. It can be hugely transformative, hugely.
Play,
Of course.
Yes.
play, and flow with life. It's with all its ups and downs.
Right? Flow with the flow of life.
Yeah. True.
The next one way that embracing your feminine energy or your femininity has enhanced your well-being.
No, I didn't get that.
Okay, so
Say it slowly.
one way embracing your feminine energy has helped you improve your well-being.
Creativity.
Listening and balance.
Okay.
I feel I have been able to access, and I'm still in the journey of it, I've been able to access my power, which I had shunned and shut myself off to earlier.
Vulnerability, like the elephants, these mighty beings just showing so much vulnerability. I think that's Shakti.
Absolutely. Vulnerability is strength.
Here, the context of my saying what I said was the creativity coming from the feminine.
Yes, yes.
The feminine background. Yeah, the Shakti itself is creativity, creation,
Yeah.
the womb of creation,
Yep.
which is what femininity is all about. Being feminine is all about.
Absolutely. My last question for you is, who is your role model in the space of healing or mental health work? Do you have any role model?
Should I start?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
My role model is my first teacher who taught me transcendental meditation, Dr. Matthew. Yes.
Definitely teachers, and nature is the best teacher.
Tough one for me to answer. I really don't have a role model. Yeah.
It's absolutely okay. Chaitanya, you?
I think definitely one is Ray, and my grandparents and animals, nature and animals. Every day, I think just they really hold.
Absolutely. I think Ray has been a role model for me for years now, and I especially requested her to do a small breathwork exercise with all of us. So do stay up until the end, everyone. With that, we come to the end of the questions that I have for you. We now move into the audience Q&A. So I request Hina to come on and help me moderate the session, where we answer some of the questions by the audience.
Yeah, hello. Thank you so
Hina.
much. Thank you so much. We are just loving, the panelists. Thank you so much for this beautiful insights. And the audience has asked a lot of questions. So I've just shared a form in the chat box for any audience members. We have 15 minutes for this round. So I'll try to get in as many questions as we can within that time limit. So if anybody has any question which we cannot answer, the panelists cannot answer within that time, please feel free to fill it out in that form and give us your feedback as well. So let's begin with a question. This one is for Dr. Chaitanya. This person wants to know, where does one begin? If I say I want to be inspiring, isn't that a statement arising from the ego? How do we know what we are feeling is coming from the ego or our authentic self?
Yeah, very good question. Clearly. So I think you don't need ego. You can't survive in life without ego, right? The context in which I spoke was, is it just that I want to achieve? Is it all about me, or does it bring values, right? And I know that time is short. So if you look up Hopi runners, they run for a cause. Running is a ritual. So the point becomes, and that's what it is. I think it's not that I want to inspire, but what am I bringing to this space? What's the value I'm bringing? Is it all about me, or does it aid something? So that was what I meant by, inspiring. What was the second part, Hina? And this is a question, you can take for half an hour, but, I definitely don't want to do that. So I'm just trying to give it in gist. And what was the second part?
That how do we know what we are feeling, or, what comes up is coming from our ego or our authentic self?
I think there's this beautiful quote by Rumi. He says, if it's your path, it will keep coming knocking. So, it's your passion. Like the elephants came into my life first in my dreams. And then I met them, and I still thought, oh, it's so beautiful. I love these creatures. And then I still had consistent, repetitive dreams. And then now it's so beautiful that the paths are interwoven. So, and I also feel you do have a little bit of ego. I really think you can survive without ego, right? You need an ego. We also need different things in life. So what I would definitely say is, what are you think? Are you doing it because you love doing it? And also sometimes we have to we need to survive. Or are you just doing it because you're told to do it? I think that is a question only each one can answer, right? I cannot answer for another. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I want to add one statement to that, just one single statement, that imagine a scenario where there is nobody else that exists in the world. You don't have to earn money. You don't have to run a house. Would you still do what you're doing? Is it coming from your being, from your body, from your solar plexus? Or is it coming because you need to confirm by doing that? So just that little check is sometimes what I run for myself.
That's absolutely powerful.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that input, Nidhi and Dr. Chaitanya. Next question is for Ray. How can one cope with unwarranted expectations placed on us and live our life without feeling guilty?
So, if I were to hypothetically assume that all that I'm attracting in my world is mirroring my own unconscious patterns. This is, I think it would be appropriate for me to tell you that when you ask what is your role model, I do want to add here the role model, which I also have, which has been streaming my life all through, which a book I read, and I'll quote that, a small verse from that book, or rather a small statement. So this is a book called Fire Within by Carlos Castaneda. And I read this book very early in my career. The quote is, "Bless those petty tyrants around you, for they mirror your unconscious patterns." So I think it says it all. So when I feel that I'm being pressurized to do something, I need to flip that coin. What is it that I am expecting of myself, which may not be in sync with my purpose, with nature, in synchronicity with what I am supposed to be doing? And it will be mirrored on the outside. So once I make peace, and like Apurva said, first awareness, acceptance, and then see what is it that I'm expecting of myself, how real and unreal it is. And that is going to be mirrored from the outside. So when I made peace with who I am, as I am, then there is no question of anybody, sort of stressing me out of having expectations which are unrealistic, because they will keep having them until I show them that I'm at peace with who I am right now, which comes to mindfulness, the present moment awareness, and the acceptance of all that is. So there's no question of expectation, no question of disappointment, no question of having to, get into pressure or into a stress mode to be able to kind of show the other person that, yes, I am that. I'm either rebelling it or I'm accepting it. No. Just pause. Yeah, Nidhi, I'm going to use this word a lot now, pause. So just sit over it and ask yourself, what are my own expectations of myself? And how is this thing continuously being mirrored on the outside? So where there's peace within, there's peace without. Thank you. I love that quote, and Carlos Castaneda has, this quote has run my life.
Right, I totally agree, Ray. If it doesn't exist in you, you would not come across that. So if it's come across your path, then if it is challenging, then what is the learning for me in this? So there is a part of me which requires healing and learning, and therefore this situation is coming to me. Right? It is not to blame the other or yourself, right? But to be able to look at it and go through the process. There's no escape. There's no going away from it, right?
Thank you. That was so beautiful. Now moving on to our next question. Probably Nidhi, you can answer this one. How to help people in your environment who are struggling with anxiety and past traumas? What kind of communication can be helpful and bring a change in the relationship they share with people?
I feel that the golden word that for me fits all situations is compassion. But first, directing that compassion towards these unhealed, broken parts of ourselves, and that builds the muscle to direct this compassion outside of us to people around. And really becoming that container. So we use the image of container a lot in our work, the alchemical vessel or the container wherein we're holding space for this person, for the ebb and flow of emotions, for whatever is coming up, letting that come, letting that emerge and letting that ebb away. Because what is the most difficult in relationships is holding, is acceptance for where the other is, and which is why therapeutic spaces become important, because we don't find that holding in our intimate relationships. There's judgment, there's a need to, oh, don't be sad, don't be angry, don't feel this, don't feel that. But just grounding in your own body, making your body and your presence a vessel for all that the other person has to bring up on that day. And then of course, if it feels like the issue is the concern is deeper and it's harder for the person to hold, I would say that really having a conversation around mental health and breaking down some of those notions and myths which still are carried all across, that it's not okay to seek support, maybe gently nudging that, prodding people to seek support, seek help whenever required.
True, very true. Now moving on to the next one. Where does any panelist can answer this?
Is someone, I think someone would probably have to go on mute.
Yeah, I unmuted it. Sorry for that. Yeah, this one is addressed to Apurva. Where does one begin from in the time of chaos, especially when it's collective? Can one find strength in communities?
That's a good question.
Wonderful, wonderful. See, as Nidhi was mentioning it earlier, holding on to the compassion in our heart and let things be and flowing with what's happening and changing directions gently, right? So, yes, it's important to be compassionate, right? Hina, just go back to the question again. Sorry, I missed my flow.
Yeah, where does one begin from in the time of chaos, especially when it's collective chaos?
Right.
Can we find strength in communities?
Right. So definitely going back to the one and only thing, resilience, right? We are all resilient beings. We have all faced adversities of different kinds, and we are able to come out of that, right? Whatever these adversities are, right? We have found strength in ourselves. It could be our individual traits in terms of our thinking, in terms of our interaction, social skills, right? All of these individual bank that we have has contributed to us in terms of the challenges. And definitely in our family, right? Gaining the support from our family and in the wider community. It's important for us, especially in times of chaos, in times of adversities, that we, modify these different aspects, right, to face the challenges, right, to help ourselves and to help each other with compassion.
I want to add just one line, just connecting to what is, this anchor. I think the questions, if you look at it, is find some anchoring, either in yourself, nature, and also this sense of ritual. What is it that you do every day that gives you that anchor? And if you can do it collectively, right, even if it's your own group, like what we're doing here, right, I think that becomes very important. And that's why ritual and religion was a part of culture. That's what we need to tune back into.
Oh,
Absolutely. I think with even the Manavratri festival, that's essentially what we're trying to achieve. Really create this community where community healing can take place, where we can take and talk about these things with so much openness and being assured that we're being held. I think that was a lovely question, whoever's asked it. I think we have time for one more question, Hina.
okay, we'll do the last one. It's open to all panelists. Anybody can answer this. How important is it for us to allow ourselves to feel any emotion, positive or negative? And how do we align ourselves to make it something we can find answers for ourselves? That's the question.
I'll just start here. Nature is constantly striving to bring about homeostasis, balance, and harmony. So, whatever one is going through, if we can just synchronize with nature, pause, meditate, sit upon things, the body, mind, and spirit will become aligned and will bring about that balance and harmony within. So I'm just starting that, and I'm sure there's a lot of all three of you young ladies will have lots to add to that.
I think
it's a very beautiful, very wholesome question, very beautiful question.
Adding to what Ray said, I think I'm going to go back to my own, I work with such a macho field, if you look at sports side. And I think my association, when I got connected the first time, I've cried for hours when I met the elephants. And I took in, somewhere that was connecting so much to the feminine. And I feel when you do that, right, something in you shifts. We're holding, I think, like, especially what Nidhi was talking about in terms of sensory, we've sensed, we're fighting so much of, I shouldn't feel this way. Whereas if we just accept, I go, yeah, I actually have this pain. I ask athletes to dance. I'm like, I don't close the door, 15 minutes, just dance, and it's happiness, it's sadness. See, this is where I don't like the labeling that you should be happy all the time. How can you be happy if you don't know what it is to be on the other spectrum? So I think, that's what feeling is so important. We've become, I think what, Apurva and Ray were so beautifully touching on is, it's too much of the intellectual overthinking mind. We need the neocortex to give us insights, but not to forget to live life. Then we become cut off from here. And that's what's happening, right? We're not in tune with life and nature. So I think dance, yes. You think in flow through.
Yeah, absolutely. Apurva, you were trying to come in as well.
Yes. See, emotions are very, very important. Right? It's important for us to feel physically, important for us to feel emotionally. And through emotions is how we experience, right? But the danger here is we get stuck with that emotion, be it positive or negative. If it is pleasant, then we want to recreate that. And there are so many things that we try to fight, right? If it is negative, we try to avoid it by different ways. But we're not trying to understand that it was meant to be what it was in that moment, which was very important for our learning from that experience. Right? So, yes, feel it, be there. You can't be numb, you can't be numb and, just go through life and not living life. Right? Be there, experience it, feel it, but flow from there. Right? You don't have to be staying there. You don't have to be stuck. That feeling of being trapped happens, right? When you are attached to that emotion. We feel good towards something, then we are attached, then we want it more and more. Right? Then we become aversive. If it is negative, it's unpleasant. Right? So that attachment, can we look at that and create that distance, right? And feel it and experience it. And that's the way of living life, right?
Absolutely.
I want to add something here. What Apurva said was quite evocative for me in terms of attachment, and that's been the core tenet of Buddha's philosophy: craving and aversion, craving to feel something, aversion to not feeling something. And when we don't allow the fullest expression of emotions, they go and sit in the deepest recesses of the body, and that's when they somaticize. That's when the immune system, the body gets hijacked, and that expresses in the form of illnesses and issues and concerns, and also karmic bondages. And then the cycle of life, of course, goes on. So it's really an invitation for everybody here to allow yourself to feel the emotions. And one of the things that can be helpful, sometimes it does not always work. I try it sometimes, but to stay with the raw sensation of the emotion in the body and drop the narrative in the head. Dropping the net. If there is anger and the anger is manifesting as the surge in the chest, staying with that sensation and dropping all the stories and spirals that can hijack you and actually take you away from the body. And then letting that sensation be there for as much as it wants to. And witnessing the ebb and flow of life, it will ebb away. There is no emotion that has ever stayed with us. We've all lived so many years of our lives. We've seen happiness and sadness and grief and anger and frustration come and go and come and go. So tuning into that witnessing presence as well and just seeing the dance of emotions, it can be very transformative.
So beautiful. Thank you all so much. We are done with the question answers. And now I'll hand it over to Rachika again.
Thank you so much, Hina. Those are some really lovely questions by the audience. And I think we have some very insightful, actionable pieces of information from our panelists today. I would like to thank all of them for really bringing in all of their years of experiences and putting it into this really digestible format for us today to take away. And I for sure am going to stop using the word alternative healing, and from now on I'm going to call it holistic healing, because we are really working towards that, and that is, as you said, the future of mental health. And thank you to all the panelists for coming on board and really sharing your insights and giving us this very holistic understanding of healing. It was so much fun talking to you guys. And in that after party that you guys have, I'm probably going to gate crash and ask you some more questions. Thank you so much. With that,
Rachika, yes. I want to say you've been a lovely host.
Oh, that's so
you have to you're included, and Hina, thank you. I think wonderful. Just it's the team, it's the energy. So just wanted to bring that.
Yeah, and this energy doesn't need to end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. This energy doesn't need to end, you guys. We have a very special gift and offer, a piece of gratitude offering that we have. We're organizing the Mahanavratri festival, and what you just experienced today, the past 2 hours, was a precursor to what we have lined up for you. We have over 40 really interesting workshops, panel discussions, experts coming in and talking about their field of work, whether it's sound healing, tarot card, whether it's animal flow, whether it's yin yoga, nada yoga. Oh my God, I'm just there's so much in line. It's 40 different workshops, all in the price of one. So, and since you guys were here with us for the past 2 hours, we have a 20% discount on the on the Mahanavratri festival ticket link, and you will get the link in the chat. Yes, it's right there right now. So I really hope to see all of you joining us in the Mahanavratri festival. It's pretty much whatever we spoke about today, packaged into a very fun 2-week vacation, 2-week self journey, 2 week of just loving yourself and, you know, taking on that well-being, giving yourself permission to take on well-being. Because I feel like so many times we just think that, oh my God, well-being is a luxury or a privilege, but we're here to tell you, no, it's not. It's as much a necessity as it was then as it is now. So welcome you all to join us. And before we close, Ray has a very special meditation, closure meditation for us. And I would like
Is there time for it?
Yeah, I think we can do a 5-minute one.
Okay. I love that. Nice. Okay, so we just sit wherever we are on chair, then move slightly forward. You could be sitting on cushion on the floor. Make sure your spine is erect and balanced, yet relaxed. Feel your ears over your shoulders and shoulders over your hips. Good. You're breathing normally and easily. Just watch your breath. Don't do anything to it. In and out, naturally and effortlessly. Now, just follow my instructions. We will be doing a relaxation meditation starting from the toes to your head. I want you to shift now your awareness and, if you like, your breath to your feet. Ask them how relaxed they are. Keep breathing easily and effortlessly into your feet. Tell them to relax completely. You're still breathing easily and naturally. And now we'll move our awareness to our calf muscles, right up to your knees now, and your thighs. Continue breathing. Become aware of how relaxed your calf muscles and your legs up to your thighs are. You could request them to relax now as you breathe naturally and effortlessly into your lower limbs. I want you to be here another moment and feel this fully. If you feel there's any part of your legs which are not feeling the relaxation completely, you may take a nice deep breath, and on the exhale, tell it, request it to relax. I love you, legs. Thank you for carrying my weight. Now, relax fully. As you continue to breathe, shift your awareness now to your hips, your lower back. Relax this part of your body completely. Continue breathing. If you find the need to shift or move, take a nice deep breath into this area of your life, of your body, and ask it to relax, let go, completely any stress or tension that you might have stored here. Keep breathing. Now we move, if you're ready, to your belly, up to your solar plexus, your middle back, your complete digestive system. Relax, relax, relax completely. At this point in this meditation, you may like to take another nice, slow, deep breath. And as you breathe out, instruct your digestive system, your entire gut to work for you. Relax completely. You could do that again, if so guided with your inner knowing. You're still breathing, and you are aware. Now, if you're ready, we'll move up to your chest, your lungs, your circulatory, respiratory system, upper back, the cervical. Continue breathing into all of these areas. You may like to take another nice deep breath into your lungs. Breathe in compassion and love. Breathe out understanding, connection, unconditional love for yourself and all of those around you. You may want to take another nice deep breath into your anahat, your heart center. Continue to breathe. You may want to give yourself a big hug, a warm hug of appreciation, of acknowledgement, of allowingness. Continue breathing. Now I'd like you to shift your awareness to your shoulders. At this point, you may want to shrug your shoulders and hang them loose. Allow them to relax. Give your command if you feel any kind of stress or tension in your shoulders, your elbows, wrists, right up to your fingertips. Continue to breathe. If you feel any stress or tension, take a nice deep breath into that area and request for relaxation. Shrug your shoulders, hang them loose. Continue to breathe. And now, if you're ready, we move up to your neck, your jaws. You may want to part them a little. The back of your skull. How relaxed are you? Continue breathing. And if you like, slow, deep breaths. Your eyes now, the sockets of your eyes, your ears, behind your ears, your forehead, the sides of your forehead, the sides of your eyes. Continue breathing. You're now becoming aware of your head, the top of your head. Let go any stress or tension. The need to frown. Raise your eyebrows and drop them. And you'll figure out how easy or difficult that was. Now, as you reach the awareness on the top of your head, be here for another moment as you continue to breathe. If you like, slow, deep breaths into the crown of your head. Into your pineal gland, into the hormone regulator, your pituitary gland. Continue breathing. I want you now to do a quick survey of your whole body, starting from feet upward. Wherever you think you have stored and not been able to release any stress, you may take a deep breath and release that fully. In the meanwhile, you are breathing effortlessly, naturally, and easily. You may say after me, I am now whole, complete, and totally healed. I am now whole, complete, and totally healed. I am now whole, complete, and totally healed. And so it is. God bless you. If you're ready, in your own pace and time, you may rub the palms of your hands together, place them on your eyes, stroke your face, slowly open your eyes, come back into the room with a smile. This is Dharma, signing off for now.
Thank you so much, Ray. That was really something. Such a beautiful way to end the session. Thank you all for being here. I would just like to remind you that the discount link is valid only for the next 2 hours. So please do hurry up and book your seat ticket for the Mahanavratri festival. Thank you all for being here with us.
Thank you, Apurva. Thank you, Chets. Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you, Rachika. Thank you, Unalome. Thank you for this opportunity. God bless you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was so beautiful, Ray. I'm so deeply relaxed, like relaxed to every cell in my body. Thank you.
It's a wonderful way to wrap up the session. Like we start talking about healing and we start feeling that. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you to all the organizers for creating this space, for all of us to come together and experience this. Thank you.